Okay, here it is, the final word on how federal income tax is voluntary for 99% of you. I'm going to show you the actual wording in the code. I'm going to tell you how you volunteered for this whole mess the second you took that job. I'm going to go over the history and how we got tricked into all this mess. And I'm going to show you how to correct it all legally so that you can not be liable to pay at all. So stick around, you do not want to miss this.
There's a storm coming! Like nothing you have ever seen! And not a one of you is prepared for it!
Okay, so as far as the whole voluntary thing goes, we're going to look at section 3402, income tax collected at the source. We're going to go to part P. It says voluntary withholding agreements. Your W-4 is a withholding allowance certificate or agreement. Right here you'll see it's talking about voluntary withholding agreements, and it starts off with certain federal payments. So you have people who are liable for the income tax, which is the people receiving federal payments. Then you have those of you who sign a W-4 and then make yourself liable by turning yourself into a federal employee voluntarily. And those are covered down here in part 3, authority for other voluntary withholding. So you have federal withholding and then you have other. For the purpose of this chapter and as it relates to part F, remunerations are other payments, meaning as in other than wages. Wages are federal payments to federal employees for their federal employers. Other payments with respect to which such agreement is made shall be treated as if, like I said in my last video, they get you in the W-4 and so they can treat you as if you were being paid wages. As if they were wages paid by an employee to an employer, both defined as federal pay, federal payer, federal payee. To the extent that such remuneration is paid or other payments are made during the period for which the agreement is in effect. During the period for which the agreement is in effect. So you can cancel that at any time. At the beginning of 1943, a victory tax was enacted on the income of every individual. And by income, they meant privileged gains, and by individuals, they meant aliens. This tax was actually only an extension of the previous scope of alien individuals and didn't actually affect direct taxation without apportionment on citizens. It was called a victory tax because we were getting into the war at that time, and what better way for the Zionists to take advantage of the stupid Goyim than demonizing Hitler. But more on that in a second. Once the tax was passed, they began sending out W-4s to everyone in the phone book because after all the IRS had not yet obtained a database of citizens to harass yet, because the income tax was always on about 6% of the population who engaged in privileged activity. So deductions began, an uninformed population filled out their 1040s, and suddenly everyone was an employee who had an employer. And everyone had to pay his fair share to stop the terrorists, or whatever buzzwords they used back then. Now to top it off, the victory tax was repealed by Section 6 of the Income Tax Act of 1944. So in reality, the tax meant nothing and it only lasted 1 year. And best of all, silly old Congress forgot to inform the public that the victory tax was no longer in effect. People didn't know to discontinue withholding for the victory tax. One was even considered being volunteer in paying the tax. I'm now going to play for you the propaganda piece they used to promote the victory tax. This is how a duck uses nationalism to trick and enslave the nation of going. God bless America.
Payday! Payday! Yes, payday. Millions of dollars pouring into the hands of the American worker. Now, in the mind of the average worker live two separate personalities. One, the thrifty.
Wait a bit, laddie. You're going to save a bit of that, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oftentimes, idle money burns a hole in your pocket, which brings out the other personality. The spendthrift.
Hi, big shot. Come on with me. I'll show you how to spend your dough.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
I got a couple of good dates.
Hello.
But, laddie, I've got some better dates.
Important ones, too. When every American should pay his or her income tax gladly and proudly. This year, thanks to Hitler and Hirohito, taxes are higher than ever before. Will you have enough money on hand to meet your payments when they fall due?
We'll take care of that later. Forget it, forget it.
But you don't want to forget our fighting men, do you?
No, sir.
Then you'll have to start saving right away to meet your tax payments.
Yeah.
Listen, chum. Spend it. It's your dough.
Yeah, it's my dough.
Aye, laddie. It's your dough. But it's your war, too. You must save for victory.
What's money for? Spend it. Shoot the works.
Nay, you must save it. Spend. Save.
Spend, save, spend, save, spend, save, spend, save, spend, spend.
Well, now what are you going to do? Spend for the Axis? Or save for taxes? Just remember, every dollar you spend for something you don't need is a dollar spent to help the Axis. That's right. And every dollar you sock away for taxes is another dollar to sock the Axis. For it is your taxes, my taxes, our taxes that run the factories. American factories, working day and night. Factories making guns, machine guns, anti-tank guns, long-range guns, guns, all kinds of guns. To blast the aggressors from the seas. Taxes for American factories, working full blast, making planes. Bombers, dive bombers. Flying fortresses, interceptors, stalk the birds of prey that fly by night. Taxes to bury the Axis. Taxes for ships, battleships, battle cruisers, destroyers, all kinds of battle wagons. Taxes to sink the Axis. Taxes to keep them flying. Taxes to keep them rolling. Taxes to keep them coming. Taxes to beat to earth the evil destroyer of freedom and peace. This is our fight. The fight for freedom. Freedom of speech, of worship. Freedom from want and fear. Taxes will keep democracy on the march.
Okay, so as far as how do you correct the problem? How do you not pay the tax on it? Well, that information is in some of my other videos and it's in this book, Cracking the Code. You want to go to losthorizons.com and get that damn book. Alright? Near the back, after you can read all this stuff and get informed on everything, it will explain to you that filing is how you correct what you screwed up. So when you sign that W-4, a withholding allowance, you're allowing them to withhold on you and treat you as if you're liable. You did it to yourself. You do not have to sign the W-4, but your employers are stupid and brainwashed, and you can also cancel the W-4 at any time. That's also in the code. But they will still send out a W-2 at the end of the year reporting the amounts that are called wages that they think they paid you. Wages are federal pay and you didn't actually earn that, so you need to correct that anyway. So you file. You want to file. That's how you answer to the accusation. That's how people go to jail and get in trouble, because W-4 gets signed. That creates the liability, the assumption that you're a taxpayer. You have to answer to it to correct it. If it goes unanswered, it stands as truth. You're liable. So you file, you put 0 wages, you put the amounts withheld, you file for a return of what was withheld, you get your money back, and you don't pay. The way they teach you to file is to act as if you were liable and you actually owe them money, which is bullshit. It's bad enough that we have W-4s being passed out that don't need to be.
Too many people
So
in
read the
America
book,
fear their
learn the
government,
truth,
and the government is being
and now
run
you
by
know
too many powerful agencies
how and
like the
why
IRS and others.
they
I think
say
it's time
that
the
the
people
federal
take the
income tax
country
is
back
voluntary.
through their representative government.